Hello, my artsy friend. Today we're going to be stitching a sweet floral bouquet onto a classic tote. So let's start stitching. We're going to be starting with our water-soluble stabilizer. So I'm going to peel that, and I am going to put mine in the center, but just a little bit higher. Feel free to mix it up, put it down in a lower corner or directly in the center. And we're going to get started with our stems. This is again a back stitch. So I'm coming up through the back, down through the front to get started with that straight stitch, and then coming up a stitch length ahead. I'm going to come up through the back and then back down into the last hole of my initial stitch. I'm going to follow that pattern and create back stitches for all of these stems. So I'll speed this up and meet you back once I have these stems and the ribbon complete with back stitches. So now I've done a few of these. I'm going to be doing back stitches for all the stems and then starting it on the leaf stitch. So I'm coming up through the back, down through the front, about 3/4 of the way down that leaf. And then I'm going to come up again on the opposite side and cross over that center. So I came up there on the right side. Now I'm going to alternate over to the left. And then I'm just crossing that center line and working my way down the outline of the leaf. This is going to give us that vein-like seam down the middle. So I'm going to keep alternating. I'll speed this up and fill it in, but I'm going to be doing this for all of those vines with the leaves. Now, feel free to use a satin stitch if you prefer, but the leaf stitch is really nice here. So next I'm going to be working on some of these vines that have lazy daisy. So I'm doing back stitches for all of the stem pieces and then coming back through and putting in the lazy daisy. So I made my loop there and then I'm going to catch that and then just secure it by going right over top of that loop. Now I'm going to do that for all of those little loops. So all those will be lazy daisies, and then I'll come back and finish up some of those other stems. So we have these stems with the little buds. I have done a back stitch for all of those, and I'm going to come back through with these little circles and just do a French knot. So I'm coming up through the back, wrapping it 2 to 3 times, and then going right back down next to it to create those little buds. Feel free to add some different colors here. Maybe they're pink or purple, whatever colors you like. Feel free to make those little flower buds, or you could even leave it blank and just have the stem there as is. I'll speed this up and I'll meet you back for the flowers. So I'm considering these daisies, so I'm doing white. I'm still using 2 to 3 strands of the floss, and I'm going to be doing satin stitches for all of the petals. So I'm coming up through the back, down through the front, side by side by side. I do like to separate my shapes when I can. I'm not as concerned about it since these are daisies. So I'm going to fill this in, and then I'm going to mix it up a little bit in the center. So I'll meet you back for the center of our flower. So now that the petals are complete, I'm going to come through and continue with the satin stitch. So I'm going to fill this centerpiece with satin stitches and then outline it with a French knot to give it a little more texture. So I'm coming up through the back, down through the front, side by side, again in the center. And I'm going to mark out this centerpiece, especially with a circle. It just helps keep my stitches a little more uniform. And now that the center is filled, I'm going to come up through the back. I'm going to wrap my needle 2 to 3 times and then pull it right back down through. So this is going to outline that centerpiece, and I'm using the petals as guides. It's just adding some texture and interest to the flower, so it's not just smooth satin stitches. So I'm going to finish that up, and I will meet you back for our finishing touches. Now that the flowers are complete, we're going to come back to the ribbon, and I'm going to come up through the back, wrap my needle 2 or 3 times and go right back down to create that French knot to secure the center of that ribbon. And I did use the full floss to give it a little more volume. Now this is a bonus, but I decided I wanted to do a whipped back stitch. So we're going to come up at the base of our ribbon and then we're just going to wrap it. And you can go with your needle backwards or forwards. I've seen it both ways, but I'm just going to go under each of these stitches and wrap it. So I'm going to continue the wrap in the same direction. Again, this stitch is in the 101 class, but I just wanted to add a little extra flair to this one. This will give it a striped look. It's great during the holidays to make candy canes, but it's also nice as a cleanup. So if your back stitches you're not in love with, try a whip back stitch, even in the same color. It gives it a nice rope effect. So I'm going to finish that up here, and you can see our stripe ribbon. So cute. Now we're ready to wash away our water-soluble stabilizer. Now, because I used white, I did end up soaking this to make sure that all of those dark lines were gone. And this is our final product. Check it out.
Key takeaways. Use the colors and stitches that best reflect your style. To avoid dark lines, be sure to dissolve the water-soluble stabilizer completely. This may mean soaking it overnight. If your bag is washable, be sure to do that first so your fabric doesn't shrink on you and ruin your stitches. And remember to upcycle when possible. This is also a hack because if it's upcycled, it's probably already been washed. Happy stitching! I'll see you in the next lesson.